Hi, doing another article reading here from probably one of my most favorite organizations, the Sustainable Economies Law Center. And yeah, they do just that. They kind of figure out how do we have more sustainable economies and being multiple economies because, well, every town, every city, every business has their own economy. And I saw they had like the perfect article to read for right now. Worker ownership as a small business solution during COVID-19. One of the great opportunities that comes with this whole thing is for us to do what I believe should be law, that every organization should be owned by the people that are within that organization. This is worker ownership. I I'm kind of more of the mind that there should be a hybrid of worker and customer ownership to some degree. But I guess if workers work together, then they ultimately want what's best for their customers. I don't know. I like hybrid, where you have kind of the two branches of government, as it were. And I think that because the Declaration of Independence that we celebrate every 4th of July, and most of us probably don't read. I know I don't read it every 4th of July, but that basically we should all have, and why I believe in voting, by the way, Jim, if you're watching this, what I believe in voting and why we should all vote is because we should want to vote in every part of our lives. Every piece of our lives, we should say, hey, I want some decision power in that. Right? In every piece of our lives, because we don't know why we're here, what's going on. Nobody can give us a definitive answer. We can get answers from faith, right? But at the end of the day, nobody can prove beyond a reasonable doubt why we're actually here. Because if somebody did, then we'd all be probably following that right now, I think. Maybe. I don't know. But I don't know. It just comes to the idea that we are all created equal. And if we're all created equal, then nobody should be able to tell you how to live your life. And you should have power in your life. Yeah, whether you want to delegate it to somebody else who you think might be smarter. Like in the realm, I keep bringing up finance. I am not the greatest in finance. Here's all my money, make the decisions with it, let me know what you're doing with it. So if you're not doing well, I'm going to move it to somebody else, right? Or, we delegate so much power, I don't think we're aware of it. So yeah, I think voting, let me get into reading this article because I think it is very, 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 very important for right now. Every restaurant, especially grocery stores right now, I think should become member and worker-owned cooperatives. But let's check this out. This is a article, Worker Ownership as a Small Business Solution During COVID-19, posted by Jay Cumberland. I don't know what 103SC means, but it was posted, I don't know, about a week ago or so, April 21st, 2020. Jay Cumberland, Equal Justice Works Fellow, sponsored by eBay Foundation. Wow, look at that. Is eBay worker owned? I don't know. So let's check this out. Small businesses confront a cash flow crisis without help on the horizon. Lenders aren't helping enough. State governments aren't helping enough. The federal government isn't helping enough. Big businesses have the help they need, of course. When no one else has been willing to help, who can small business owners turn to? They've already been turning to their customers to raise funds. They can also turn to their workers. This is mutual aid, exchanging resources and services to satisfy needs without depending on the government. And providing workers with partial or full ownership can help small business owners and workers during COVID-19. Want to watch a video about this instead of reading? Check out the video below. So there, go watch that video. but I'll continue reading. Small businesses face a massive cash flow crisis. Small businesses don't have enough cash coming in to pay their expenses. The median small business will survive 27 days without income. That's bad news for a lot of businesses. It's already been longer than that. As of this writing, the Bay Area's shelter in place will be entering into its 7th week. Everywhere, small businesses have shuttered their windows and doors. Many have taken to some cost-cutting measures affecting employees, either laying off, furloughing, or reducing the hours of workers. Trimming expenses. This may help keep some income coming through the door, but while it extends the business life, it does so at expense of workers. These cost-cutting measures put workers and small business owners into conflict. And then we have this picture. What do we see? Starting restaurants. Cash buffer days are the number of days of cash outflows a business could pay out of its cash balance or its inflows to stop. So if money stops coming in, how long does it last? We estimate cash buffer days for a business by computing the ratio of its average daily cash balance to its average daily cash. Okay, so at first you have 25%, 13 days cash buffer there at the peak. And then you have restaurants that can go about 16 days, repair and maintenance businesses 18 days, retail 19 days, construction 20, professional services 21, wholesalers 23, metal and machinery 28 days, healthcare services 30 days, high-tech manufacturing 32 days, other professional services 33, high-tech services, 33 days, 47 days for real estate. So look at that. Image source by JP Morgan Chase and Company, Institute Executive Summary, Cash is King. Flows, balances, and buffers days, evidence from 600,000 small businesses, September 2016. This is scary because then all big corporations just take over, right? The federal government's response has fallen direly short of this cash flow crisis. Really, the federal government has ensured big businesses will survive at the expense of small businesses. Small businesses need $1 trillion to last the first 30 days. Instead, they received $300 billion. Moreover, Congress ensured that chains like Ruth's, Chris, and Shake Shack would swoop in and take this money away from small businesses. Big banks, too, ensured funds would disproportionately allocated to the larger businesses they already serve. Small businesses face extinction level event. Congress ensures big corporations survive. A large corporate bailout coupled with inadequate small business loans will likely give the biggest firms an even greater advantage in most post-virus America. Small businesses laying off, furloughing, or reducing pay for workers are forcing them to depend on state governments. They imagine, I think, that state governments will have this handled. However, a large number of states have been significantly underfunding their unemployment insurance funds. Imagine that. Most can't weather a new economic downturn like this one without going insolvent. California's unemployment insurance fund became insolvent approximately a year into the Great Depression recession in 2008. When this happens, California borrows hundreds of millions from the federal government to pay unemployment benefits. California still owes almost $8 billion from borrowing during the Great Recession. Oh, and it hasn't accounted for another recession. As of April 4th, 2020, the Tax Foundation estimated that California's unemployment insurance fund will run dry on May 2nd. I'll hold my breath waiting to see what happens this time. Small business owners should be aware that forcing workers to depend on unemployment insurance benefits comes at a cost. Unemployment insurance money borrowed from the federal government, at least, which is borrowed from the Federal Reserve, which is privately owned and operated, at least in California, can be repaid only by raising taxes on employers or lowering already inadequate benefits paid to the unemployed. Either way, there's no free lunch, and the more an employer forces employees to depend on unemployment benefits, the more it will pay in payroll tax in the future. I know that's a lot to take in, so before moving on, take a breath. We'll get through this together. Businesses can weather this crisis by paying workers with equity. A great idea. As I mentioned, small business owners and workers can help each other. Small business owners don't have to help some workers at the expense of others. Paying workers partially in equity during the COVID-19 crisis is one way to mutually aid each other, reduce expenses, and preserve income. This strategy will work in industries with highly paid workers. It requires that workers accept equity payment in lieu of part of their normal cash compensation. And equity is ownership of the company. 1/3 of Americans did not pay rent in April. 1/3 of Americans. Many simply don't have enough cash on hand to make this option acceptable. The shared equity option, like many workers depend on unemployment insurance, will ultimately reduce business profits. Paying workers in equity means reducing your own portion of equity, so you'll earn a smaller share of profits moving forward. Laying off, furloughing, or reducing wages and/or hours by more than 10% will likely also result in loss of profits moving forward. California already owes billions to the federal government that needs to be repaid through payroll taxes on employers or reduced unemployment benefits. It stands to reason that these taxes will increase significantly in the future. Small business owners will face a choice: accept a reduction in profits caused by increased payroll taxes or lower wages for workers. Options: furlough and unemployment insurance, or layoff unemployment insurance, or hour and wage reduction plus work sharing insurance. The costs are more payroll tax and less profits. Another option: hour wage reduction and equity pay. Give them equity in the company. The costs are less profits to the owner of the original owner or owners of the company, and maybe less control of the business. Beats losing the business completely, right? Paying workers partially in equity should preclude workers from filing for the work-sharing form of unemployment insurance in California, although this has not been tested to my knowledge. Again, you should consult with your own attorney before acting on this information. At the very least in California, a certain amount of hourly wages and salary must be paid in cash. For hourly workers, minimum wage and overtime wages must be paid in cash. For salaried workers, the amount required for exemption must be paid in cash. Anything above that can be paid in any acceptable wage, defined as money or other value that is received by an employee for compensation for labor or services performed. California Labor Code, Section 200A. Generally, reducing wages and/or hours by more than 10% allows workers to file work-sharing claims. However, if you reduce cash wages and pay the reduced amount in equity, you have not reduced wages. You have simply changed the manner of payment. Why would workers take payment in this manner? It may help the business survive when it would otherwise be impossible. That ensures that workers will have their same job on the other side of this crisis. It might also help workers retain their jobs when otherwise some workers would lose their jobs to help the business survive. It will entitle them to equity and also to profits in the business moving forward. Assuming the business survives this crisis, they will receive more money in the long run, even though they are sacrificing cash at the moment. Small business owners can incentivize workers to accept this option by attaching voting rights to equity. Read that again. Small owners can incentivize workers to accept this option by attaching voting rights to equity, by giving worker shareholders the exclusive right to appoint a certain number of board members, or giving workers a right of first offer and or right of first refusal should the business be sold or closed. So the workers get to decide if the business closes or stays open, and they just try to figure out creative ways to keep it open, right? Didn't read that, added my 2 cents. Better yet, small business owners can sell to their workers to survive the crisis. Selling completely to workers and giving them all ownership and control achieves more for the small business. The small business owner and the workers then paying partly in equity. It can bring working capital into the business, since most outside soft debt financing for worker co-op conversions comes with a substantial percentage of working capital. It gives workers not only a small portion of ownership, but also full control of the business. It lets the owner stay on with the business while allowing the business to grow larger than them and outlive them. Just like Bob's Mills did, right? With its ESOP. Usually this worker cooperative conversion process takes months, if not years. The default process detailed in a representative image below must change for cooperative conversion to become a viable solution in the moment. So cooperative transition, timing and weeks. There you go. Below, I briefly outline a cooperative conversion process capable of moving quickly enough to allow cooperative conversion to serve as an answer in this moment. The viability of this option comes down to this. 1, is there a deal structure that allows small business owners and workers to trust each other? And 2, is it possible to quickly create a culture of change that enables owner and workers to continually modify an imperfect governance and management structure over time to fit their needs? I think the answer to both questions is yes. And I don't think I'm going to read the conversion, but limit time spent on feasibility study and valuation by making the price reasonable. I'm going to go ahead and skip that. I want to keep the video short. Defer business plan by staying on as manager. Defer funding search by using 100% seller financing or a seller finance bridge. This is something I've been really thinking about lately. Actually, I told my mom to do this back when she had her business. I told her, go ahead and sell the business to everybody that works there. And then that way she's getting... you basically float the business as a loan, and the workers are paying you back for the loan, and then that's how you kind of buy yourself out of your business. And then everybody's in the boat together. I think also extending that to the members, because I know there's businesses right now that I really want to stay open and survive this. And I would love to become an owner of that business. And I would like the workers to have most of the say-so, to be the representative, my representative there, right? So defer design of new business structure by using template co-op bylaws. So yeah, people have bylaws out there for co-ops. As a last resort, owners can give workers advance notice of closure so they can buy, right? If the owner, I'm going to close my doors, they can tell the workers first and give the option to sell out to them and, get bought out and basically float a loan to them and get repaid. But yeah, So if your business simply can't survive during this time, it's possible for you to continue with your business if you give your workers advance notice that the business will be liquidated through an assignment for the benefit of creditors, asset sale, Chapter 7 bankruptcy, liquidation, or Chapter 11 bankruptcy, reorganization. In general, this simply requires giving your workers as much advance notice as possible to allow them to line up financing to buy your business. If you're putting your business through a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, it could still involve seller financing so long as you convince the bankruptcy court that a sale to employees will help the business grow, expand, and pay creditors what they are owed. So if all else fails, don't quit. There might still be light at the end of the tunnel. And there's about the author, Jay Cumberland. Nice looking beard there. My gentle fellow. And is an Equal Justice Works Fellow hosted by the Sustainable Economies Law Center. He started the project Anchoring Communities. Sounds like a good organization. In order to help workers and tenants in the Bay Area resist displacement by taking collective control of their workplaces and buildings. I'm going to follow this guy and learn more about his organization. Jay believes political theory, social movement theory, and international perspective must inform his work, supporting housing cooperatives, conversions, and worker cooperative conversions. These conversions are, after all, political exercises happening in social spaces around the globe. You can reach Jay at his email there at SELC, Sustainable Economies Law Center. I like it. And I'm gonna tweet. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, I think that worker ownership of a small business is great. I would like to see a hybrid model where the customers and workers and owners all come together and split up the ownership and say, hey, we're in this together. What are the bills? Let's keep people paid. What are the employees' bills? Just keep things moving and alive. What can we do to do that? And before we fire people or lay them off or whatever, what way can we get creative? Another thing that I think SELC does talk about somewhere is community currencies, and that's probably going to be one of my next articles I read, maybe tomorrow. Love and peace to everybody, and just extra kindness as we're going through this.